boiler's cold. And you come over here to the pressure gauge. If this lower needle is 10 or below, you may want to add water. Now, it's best to add water when the boiler's cold. So what you do is you would bring it up to where it is now at 12 pounds cold.
Oh, I see, that's pound, PSI.
That's pounds.
Okay,
When you heat the boiler up, if you're cold at 12 pounds, you're going to be at 20 or just below 20 when the boiler's hot, when it expands. If the temperature, if the pressure gets above 20, you need to consider draining the expansion tank
Okay,
up there.
which is right
Okay.
here, I guess.
First, let me show you how to raise the pressure in the boiler,
which is adding water.
which is adding water. So what I do, I have this. This is cold water, and this is a lockable valve. I have two in series. So you open. This you have to lift that up. You open that up, and then you just barely crack this. It's putting water in. You go right over here, and you'll see the pressure starting to go up very slowly. So you see it is going up. Okay, turn that valve off. So, and then turn the other valve off and put
Yep.
the lock in it.
Yep.
Okay. That's the way you add water, and when the boiler's cold, 10 pounds is fine. Remember that the water in this boiler is common to the water in the oil-fired boiler in the garage.
Okay.
It's all common. If you find that after you fire the boiler, it raises above 20 pounds, then you need to consider draining the tank. Now, there are a couple of valves that you need to shut off. You need to shut this valve off that puts the water from the boiler into the tank. Once you shut that off, you can put a bucket here, and you can open up these two valves and drain all the water out of the tank.
And that's not a bladder tank, that's just
It's
an
not a
air,
bladder tank.
Just,
That's what we always used.
okay,
You could change it to a bladder tank.
yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
If we had to.
If you want to.
Now, this gauge here should equal that gauge, right?
Yeah, it should, but but I charge this tank with air.
Oh,
So leaving this valve shut and looking at the pressure over here, you will see at 12 pounds. So we're going to put air in, pressurize that tank before we open up that main valve to 12 pounds. To do that,
did you get that?
I'm recording it, but I don't understand when or why you add the
what's that?
air.
Let's invest in a bladder tank.
So you're saying you have to do this after you've let water out?
Let water out. Or
Why are you adding air to the tank?
I'm adding air to the tank because now the pressure is going above 20 pounds when the boiler is hot.
Okay.
It's not getting the expansion out of that tank because there's too much water in it.
Yeah, okay. But once you let the water out, you want to put air in.
I want to put air in to go ahead and fire the boiler with not much water in there. If I equal the air in the tank and to the boiler pressure, when I open that valve, no water will go in until the water, the air is absorbed by the water or vice versa, and eventually over a period of time, and I would say like maximum twice a year that you would have to do that.
Okay.
So what I do is I go ahead and this is just a slip fit on the compressor, and you screw this in at this point, and then you go ahead and start the compressor, open up this valve and open up the other valve, the two valves. Watch the gauge. When you get to 12 pounds, go shut the valve, shut this valve, and go ahead and disconnect the compressor. So now you have 12 pounds of air in the expansion tank and 12 pounds of water pressure in the boiler.
Okay.
So at that point, you can open up that valve, this one here, and then the water can freely go back and forth as the pressure builds or decreases.
So you would do this, you know, maybe twice a year, but especially when you're adding or you're draining water, because you want to equalize the water pressure and the air pressure at approximately 12 pounds. Cold.
Yeah. If you drain it, you want to not let the water in until you put 12
Right,
pounds of air
okay.
in it.
And and why do you drain it?
Well, you drain it because eventually this will fill with water.
And then it'll start
and
going above 12 pounds.
It'll start going above 20 over here. Eventually,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
let it go to 30 pounds, the relief valve is going to relieve the water out of the boiler onto the floor.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Okay, that makes sense.